India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has reiterated that India's ties with Russia remain positive despite the turbulence across the world. The External Affairs Minister said that over the years, India has made its own evaluation regarding the importance of the relation. Jaishankar says it will be a huge mistake for New Delhi if they keep their ties with Moscow restricted to only defense. He further added India has an upswing in the economic part of the relationship with Russia.
The relationship with Russia. This relationship has been held steady, kept steady, despite all the turbulence in the world. So it is actually for us a very unique relationship, I think in some ways for the Russians also. And in this period, for all the pressures on us, I think we have made our own evaluation of the importance of this relationship. And I do want to say that, sometimes this relationship is dumbed down to things like, oh, we are dependent on them for arms. I think it's far more complex than that. There is a geopolitical logic for what we are doing, what we have been doing with Russia. And today, many things which we were working on even prior to 2022, which is how to expand our economic cooperation, those have borne fruition. So you actually have an upswing in the economic part of the relationship with Russia.
The Indian External Affairs Minister also spelled out the rule for India-China ties. He says, and I quote him, "State of the border will determine state of the relationship and the border is still abnormal," end of quote.
Bottom line there is, at the end of the day, the state of the border will determine the state of the relationship, and the state of the border today is still abnormal.
Now, according to Jaishankar, China is a big neighbor to India, but for both the nations, there has to be respect for each other's interests.
The difficult one on the big stage has obviously been China. I would say it's a subject on which I have spoken publicly before. At the end of the day, for us, we recognize it's a neighbor, it's a big neighbor, it's today a very significant economy and significant power. But at the end of the day, any relationship has to be based on a high degree of mutuality. There has to be a respect for each other's interests, sensitivity for each other's interests, and there has to be an adherence to agreements which were reached between us. And it is that departure from what was agreed between us which is today at the heart of the difficult phase that we are passing through with China.
Drawing a contrast between India's ties with China and that with the United States, Jaishankar said relations with the latter have been exceptionally good. He cited Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's recent maiden state visit to the White House and said it was the most productive visit by an Indian Prime Minister.
We have moved into the positive domain. We are really looking at what is it that the two countries can do together in terms of not just bilaterally, but also in terms of how we can influence or shape the world together for our common purpose. If I were to today compare this with, when I say the big stage, with Europe, again, the attention which has been given to Europe over the last 9 years has really been remarkable. It's been the big countries of Europe, it's been the smaller ones, it's the sometimes in groupings. But if you take any measurable metric of how you evaluate a relationship, again, I would suggest to you that the European relationship is doing well. There are, of course, a lot of possibilities there still to be realized. I think the big issue before us is concluding the free trade agreement. But all I can say is we are obviously much more hopeful than we have been in the past.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.